So in today's video I want to talk to you about the crazy, unpredictable yet fun nature of living here in the Philippines. So stick around, grab some coffee, and let's get into today's video. So from my experience over the last 3 years of living here in the Philippines, life here can be unpredictable. It can be fun, it can be crazy, it can be challenging, but you know, that's why I love it here, because you never know what to expect. There are things that can happen here that throw you off guard. There are things that can really interfere with your plans. So that's just the way life is here. Crazy, unpredictable, yet fun at the same time. Even over the last couple of weeks since we transferred to Iloilo City from the province, there's just been things that have happened that have really been unpredictable, that were out of our control. For example, if I go back to May 13, I think it was, the day that we were leaving. So the day before that, I had taken the car to a car wash to get it nice and clean and spotless for our journey to Iloilo. And so on the day we were leaving, I woke up, we had packed some of our stuff already, and I began to load the stuff into the car. So I walked across the field from our house to the car, and what do I see on the car? A light covering of volcanic ash. I thought to myself, where'd that dust come from? And then I realized, oh, the volcano in Negros must have erupted, because that's what happened like 6 months ago. So the wind had blown the ashfall directly from the volcano over our car on the day that we were supposed to leave. So that's just one unpredictable side of things in the Philippines. Volcanic ash. Who would have thought it? Who would have expected that? So we got the car cleaned up, we got ourselves packed and ready to go. So this is the next thing we're going to share with you guys. So our car has had ongoing issues with the clutch over the last 6, 7 or 8 months. And we've tried everything to get it fixed. We've taken it to the mechanic twice, and we've had to buy a new clutch slave cylinder twice. There have just been times when the car has stopped driving because of the issue with the clutch. So the week before we were due to travel to Iloilo, once again the clutch malfunctioned. So I left it in with the mechanic, and he assured me 2 days before we were going to Iloilo that he had repaired it. So on our journey to Iloilo, it was around 30 minutes into our journey. We were driving from our village in Guimaras to the port, and what happens? The clutch once again malfunctions. The actual lever will not press right down, so I had to pull over and stop. And thankfully after 20 minutes the clutch restarted, but it was quite nervy having to drive all the way from Guimaras to the Roro, and then ride the Roro, and then drive into the city and arrive at the condo. So that was 2 unpredictable things, 2 crazy things even, on the day that we were leaving: a volcanic ashfall and a faulty clutch, even though we thought it had been fixed. And of course the next thing that happened when we arrived here, so we checked in with the office so that we could sign our contract and agree to the terms of the condo. And so after we'd signed the contract, the lady asked if we have any questions, and I said, okay, well, what about how do we connect to the Wi-Fi? And this is where we found out that there was no Wi-Fi connection set up in this condo unit, even though when we had viewed it we had been under the impression that all we needed to do was contact the company and they would reconnect. So that wasn't explained to us properly, so we ended up caught off guard by that, by being told that, oh no, you don't have a Wi-Fi connection here, there's no connection, we cannot reconnect it for you. And so that was very frustrating, very disappointing, because obviously I have remote working, and you expect when you're transferring from the province to the city to have a good stable Wi-Fi connection, especially if you're paying 23,000 pesos for the condo unit for 2 months. So that was a frustration. And what did they suggest? Well, they suggested that we go to SM to buy our own loadable Wi-Fi. But then they kindly gave us the GOMO Wi-Fi, which runs off the Globe network. And so we tried to set that up, and what happened was that the speed for GOMO for most of the day is not very good. It goes down, it goes very slowly from afternoon to evening time, which is not good for the things that I need to do, such as vlogging and working. So that was another frustration, another challenge, another unpredictable thing that happened to us. And so we went back and forth to the manager to explain our situation, and sometimes the suggestion was that, oh well, you can work in the lobby, connect to our office Wi-Fi. And I'm thinking to myself, not a chance. My wife is heavily pregnant. I need to be here in the condo unit in case she goes into labour. And I paid 23k expecting to have a Wi-Fi connection in the condo unit. So eventually they said they would look into it, and finally they came up with a solution. They give us a Ditto SIM Wi-Fi, which is a bit better compared to GOMO Wi-Fi, but the upload speed isn't as good, and so it can take a long time for vlogs to upload. So it's we're trying to make the best of a bad situation. So that's another crazy thing about living in the Philippines. You just never know what to expect, even with a Wi-Fi connection, guys. So the next crazy and unpredictable thing that happened was that we experienced an earthquake. I think it was on our first weekend in the condo, and I had just gotten out of the shower, so I was walking about drying myself and getting changed, and Tina was sitting on the sofa, and she was like, "Oh, earthquake?" I was like, "What?" And she said, "Is there an earthquake?" I was like, "I don't know." And I didn't really feel anything, so I walked in, and I didn't notice anything, so maybe it was because I was moving, but she said, "Oh, I feel there is an earthquake," because she was sitting still. And then I looked on the table, and the plant was slowly swaying back and forth, so there was definitely an earthquake. And afterwards we checked, and it was a 5.0 earthquake. And so in the space of a week we had experienced ashfall from a volcano and an earthquake. Thankfully it wasn't a severe one. I don't think anyone anywhere was hurt by it, which is good. But it just shows the unpredictable, crazy side of life here in the Philippines. You never know what to expect. And then the next crazy thing was that both the elevators malfunctioned. So on May 15, I think there was one elevator that had malfunctioned, and that was out of service for a few days. And then there was a thunderstorm during the evening, and the next day I was actually going out to film a vlog at the Esplanade. Unfortunately my GoPro broke down, but before I got there I saw a sign for the elevator saying out of order, and then there was a notification saying that both elevators are out of service, one due to a technical fault and another due to the severe weather. And well, you might not think that an elevator being out of order is such a bad thing, but when your wife is heavily pregnant, you want to make sure that everything is working, so that if she goes into labour, you can get out of here quickly using the elevator and get to the hospital as soon as possible. You don't want some difficulty or some obstacle getting in the way. So thankfully one of the elevators is now working again, but again it just shows the unpredictable side of things in the Philippines. Another frustrating, unpredictable thing is that I recently bought these DJI mics mainly for using for our GoPro when we're out and about vlogging and talking. And of course what happens when I go out and start vlogging with the GoPro malfunctioned. So the GoPro is no longer working. So it just seems to be one crazy thing after the other. You couldn't make it up. So I've managed to find a workaround to use the DJI mic with my cell phone. And finally, the next thing that I want to share with you is probably the most funny thing that could happen, the most unpredictable, predictable thing about the Philippines. And it was last Thursday. Well, I had been up during the night because I wanted to watch the the Europa League final between Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur. So I was awake until maybe about 5 in the morning watching that. Waste of time because my team lost. But anyway, so I was lying in bed a bit longer. I was sleeping a bit longer, and I got to around 9 a.m. and I heard the voice. I heard a voice coming from the terrace shouting, "Tagbalay, Tagbalay," and I'm thinking to myself, is that voice coming from our terrace? And Tina was in the CR at this point, but she had left the terrace door partially open. Thankfully the curtains were closed, but she'd left the terrace door partially open because she was hanging some laundry out. And so I kept hearing this voice, and I thought, no, it must be the next door neighbour, surely. It must be the next door neighbour. How could someone be on the terrace at this time of the morning without coming through our door? And so I was lying there in my boxer shorts, just still half asleep, still a bit confused. And then I heard the voice again saying Tagbalay, and also saying "Ma'am, sir," and he was trying to make sure that somebody was home. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, it sounds like there really is someone on the terrace at this point. And I rushed to get my shorts and t-shirt on, and I came outside, and there was a man standing on the terrace, and he had a paintbrush in his hand, and I was still partially sleeping, and he said, "Sir," and I thought he pointed at the aircon, and I said, "Oh, you'll work on the aircon?" He was like, no, and then he showed me, "Oh yeah, oh, you'll paint, okay." And so he'd climbed up, well, maybe he'd climbed down from the roof using ropes, but he had rope going right the way down from our roof, right the way down to the ground. And so I thought to myself, only in the Philippines could this happen. You know, you could write a book about it, but that's the crazy nature of living in the Philippines. No notification, no one coming to your door or contacting you saying, "Oh yeah, your terrace will be painted in the morning." Nothing like that. Just a man standing on the terrace ready to do his work. That's typical Filipino style. And all these things, you know, they add to the experience. They add to the authenticity of living here. It is a crazy country. It's an unpredictable country. But it's a fun country to live in and just experience it all. The good, the bad, the challenges, they all make for life experience. They all make for good memories, guys. So there you have it, guys. That's 2 weeks of strange, unpredictable things that have happened in the Philippines. Crazy things, unpredictable things, things that are outside our control. But that's life here in the Philippines. That 2 weeks could sum up my entire 3-year stay of things that have been crazy, unpredictable, and fun. And yet, I wouldn't change it for the world. So guys, that's all for today's video. See you next time. Bye bye.